everyone, welcoming Fearless to Dinner with Key. I feel so blessed and so honored to have you here with me. Thank you for coming.
Key, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
This is so dope. I love that you're doing this.
Thank you. Before we get started, Fearless is going to lead us in some breathing.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is like it's like a ritual for me before I go into meetings, before I leave the house, before I have difficult conversations, before I have conversations that are wonderful. It just kind of helps me reset my energy and reset my pace. Mm-hmm. So what we'll do, you'll follow the pace of my hand as it rises. And then as it ascends, you'll also follow the pace with your exhale. So rise, inhale, and then ascend or descend, exhale. Okay? I'm going to do it 3 times.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale.
Thank you.
That was good. Thank you.
She really does do this. The first dinner we had at my house, she was like, "Oh, let's breathe." So she's like,
"Yo, because my head would be going my head be going off, so I need to find a way to balance myself."
Speaking of your head, you're the founder of Mind Art.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about where that started?
Yeah, sure.
How that came about?
It's interesting because, so Mind Art is psychology and neuroscience infused art, explored through an array of mediums. So we have my base, which is fine art, painting, sculpture, installation work. And then we have some new mediums that I've just recently been exploring: sonic, music and sound, dance, which is another foundation, writing, spoken word, fashion and design is a new way. But recently in my development, it's like I'm untapping different layers in my subconscious mind. And I just hit this new mark that was frightening, but I knew that it was where a lot of my hidden trauma was, and I knew that it was going to set me free. And in that realization, I realized where it stemmed from. The other day, my friend Star, she asked me, where did all these lines come from? Like, what is it that you see? Like, these lines that you see, do you remember where it originally started from?
Right.
And I looked at her and I started crying. I was like, my mother, when we were younger, my mother was a seamstress for 12 years in Haiti before we came to the States. She would make all of our clothes, everyone's clothes, growing up in our hometown in Port-au-Prince. And when she came here, before she got into the medical field, I really did look at her as an artist.
Yeah.
And I remember this memory of just looking at a piece of paper at an angle. And my mother had all of these shapes. She had all these lines that she would draw. And I remember just looking at them and falling in love with them, but also I have a very interesting relationship with my mother. She's my best friend. But also, as I'm untapping my childhood, I remember there's so many instances where we just clashed so much. And that experience is really the root of a lot of who I am today, a lot of the conflicts that I battle with. Being a first generation Haitian, moving to the States, growing up in America, but being an artist and not a nurse, not anything else that way, and how that kind of has impacted me. And so it's interesting that I came back to Boston to recenter, but really have an opportunity to connect with my family again and really connect with my mother. And in this time, I'm realizing the root of mind art, which this line drawing began. I remember seeing that when I was little, but I really started interpreting it, I would say about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It didn't really start becoming a thing until 3 years ago. And so it's interesting how it's been through a part of my life since I was a child.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until later in my 20s that it started to make a really huge impact on who I was.
Yeah.
And I think that alone talks about what mind art is. Finding this thread throughout your life. This consistent line throughout your life,
Yeah. So mind art, you talk about it being this road and this journey to the crown.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what that crown looks like?
I've always been searching for my identity.
Yeah.
Who Wendy is.
Yeah.
I was born Wendy Michelle. My mother's maiden name is Dupu, so I'm part of the Dupu family. It's a large family. And
beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you. My family. I was raised in the Alsea household. And so there's a lot of identities in that.
Yeah.
And so ever since I was young, I remember from the third grade, I think third grade is you start developing crazy at that age. But I started to have these very personal, ideas and concepts of identity in the third grade when this boy told me I wasn't good enough.
Mm.
And I remember going home and being like, then what is good enough? I thought I like me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm good enough. But it impacted me so much that I started searching for what was good enough. I was like, all right, well, if I'm not good enough, then who is good enough?
Right.
So I started morphing myself and attaching myself to things that other people found value in me.
Right.
So because I felt like I lost myself through the lack of affirmation from someone else, when I was affirmed by another person, it felt like I was gaining more of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I became this multidisciplinary artist, so it was through my exploration of identity.
Yeah.
I started picking up, I'm like, oh, dancing. Oh, yeah. I'm good at dancing? Okay, this is who I am.
Right.
6 years, 7 years later, accolades, all this stuff, and I'm like, still not it.
Yeah.
Painting. I'm really good at painting.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
We talked about how changes can be good as long as it's not out of fear.
Right.
And so it's so interesting because I feel like I've been dancing my whole life. But instead of changing my medium, I just focused more on different genres of dance,
Right.
And I built my identity through being a multidisciplinary dancer.
Right.
But then we ask the question, who are you without dance?
Right.
That's a hard question.
Right. How does it make you feel?
So interesting because when I was on my way to the vineyard and I was on a ferry and all these white men in suits, and I was like, it clicked to me again, the whole, who am I when I'm not dancing? Who am I without dance? It clicked to me again when I saw all these men in these suits, and I'm just like, so many people are hiding underneath their careers.
Right.
And it's like, how do you even begin to ask yourself, am I doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your career becomes so much like it becomes a part of you,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So it's like, how do you even form the question? You know? I mean, that's not a question for you to answer.
No,
but I
it's
think
something
that
I explore. I think about it every day.
Yeah.
I think about it every day, and I think everyone thinks about it every day. I don't necessarily think everyone's going to tell you that they think about it every day.
Right.
But I think everyone is constantly questioning whether they are where they're at and whether they are who they are, because I think everyone's always contemplating self and identity.
Do you think that there's so much contemplation on self and identity more so now because there's like this huge, like because of social media?
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest reasons I think most people, but even before social media, we had other things to be influenced by. You could just look at someone. You could look at how someone else lived. You were influenced by the way a friend lived their life, you know? But now we're influenced by being able to see multiple friends live their life.
Yeah.
You know? And then we kind of get trapped in this digital space.
Yeah.
And we're no longer in the present moment.
Right.
And so we're now living, and that really does something to your brain. Your brain is only a computer, so it's only reacting and doing what you tell it to.
Right.
So when you're constantly living in the digital space, your brain's like, okay, I guess that's the real world now.
Yeah. How do you use the digital space for good?
So I started exploring the digital world when I was 17 with my first blog with a few friends of mine. And I was really all in it, man. And I felt like we started off with using it for good because it was the beginning of the digital realm. So we didn't know any other way. We were like, yo, we just want to put artists on.
Yeah.
You know, we want to give them a platform. We want to give ourselves a platform.
Yeah.
And I feel like it cultivated such a good, positive community. And because that was my first influence with, like, an experience with the digital space,
yeah,
that's all I can, like, always go back to now.
Right.
So even when I got to a place where it was super negative and it was super toxic to my life, I was able to reroute back to the root of it for me.
Yeah.
Where I'm able to, okay, what stories can I share if I have access to millions of people? If I can find a way to communicate, somehow I could easily communicate with someone in China from being here through the digital world, what do I want to tell them? How do I want to share the story when I go to Haiti? Okay, let me pull out my phone and record this man speaking and then bring it out and show it to the rest of the world.
I saw that video.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Like, what are we all hungry? Like, what are the universal desires? Like, and how do we all relate and connect to each other?
and what
instead of being like, oh, language is a barrier.
It's not when it comes to art.
Right.
It's a universal language.
Right.
The digital world is just another form of art. And I feel I hope one day we get to realize that, because when we start seeing it as art, it changes everything.
Right.
Right? Because art is here to shift. It's radical.
Yeah.
It's a form of communication.
Right.
And I think it started off as that, but now no one knows what to say. It's becoming inward. One of the reasons I remember at Mass Art, one of the reasons why I left to live in Germany when I was younger was because I was in the studio and we kept having these critiques and we were all these artists and everyone was just talking about themselves and like, this is what I want to do with my art and this is all about me, and I get it. You know, we're artists. I remember sitting there at like 19 and being like, wait a minute, I have these gifts and I'm creating it just for me.
Yeah.
That made no sense to me. I was like, there's gotta be a reason I have to create for something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
There's gotta be more.
Right.
And I just started exploring, and I'm like, there's a balance, of course, but I think when you really take your personal trajectory and you really work on it and you really exploring it, when you share it, that's gonna be felt. And that's really being able to connect with other people, that like having it being so relatable, having the experience be relatable.
Right.
So it's like,
because that's the real work.
Right.
It's like that's where the radical comes into place. That's reaching beyond. You know, I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he was telling me how he had this theory on human relations. And I was like, beautiful theory. Now, how are you going to share that? Are you going to write a book? Are you going to go into these communities and talk to them about human relations? Are you going to travel? How are you going? Well, the question was, well, why do I have to? I'm like, you don't have to. You know, you can keep that theory to yourself. But I feel like whenever you have come up with an idea or come up with a concept, come up with theory that no one else has ever come up with, it's worth trying. Like, if you look out into the world right now and you can say, these are the things that's wrong with it, and I have a plan. You know, I feel like that is, it's important to share it. Why be selfish in that way? You know?
I even think when asking the question, how are you going to share it? Even that can be, can deter a dream. Even that can crumble the essence, the purity of an idea, of a concept. Sometimes, like, if I'm discovering something within myself through writing, then I have to share the writing. I don't necessarily need to come up with something, a way to share it.
Right. You just share it through, you share it, you share it as is, you know, or you share it in its natural form.
Right. I think that.
So you don't dress it up.
Right. Right?
Yeah.
As you, once you share it in its natural form, you begin to see, oh, I can do this with it. All of it becomes, it's all organic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when I'm creating music, I'm just like, I need to share this.
Yeah.
I need to be vulnerable in this way. And then I'll have this moment of being terrified because I feel exposed. I just shared myself. And then afterwards, I'm like, now I'm experiencing with the world. I'm experiencing the art with the world.
Yeah.
So now I'm
going through the process with the world.
I'm going through the process with the world, but I also become a part of the audience now. Now the art is no longer attached to me.
Yeah, it doesn't belong to you anymore.
Right. So that way I can look at it now and say, oh, why don't we put that on top of it and that, because now I'm looking at it from an audience point of view. There's not this emotion, this like very baby emotional connection to it anymore that scares me and makes me kind of put it in a box and hovers it over me. But when I share it with you, it's now it's a thing we can watch.
Yeah. I've seen you do that with your sketches. And how you shared it with so many different people. You've come up with a new, I don't want to say iteration, but a new image.
Right.
You know?
Right.
What is that process like? Well, because last time you were here, remember we had that 3-4 hour conversation. And then I sit down and I say, Fearless, so what is, I say, Fearless, so what is mind art? And you go, well, we just did it. So is the process similar?
It is.
Is this a process?
We're doing it
We're doing it right now.
We tapped firstly you tapped into a lot of things. We're discovering as we're speaking right now. It's through the exploration is where you find the clarity. And I think people want to find clarity and then go explore.
Because they feel safer.
It's a safe route. Let me make it solid and then go. But it's through the exploration you begin to discover the new. It's through the exploration you find what is. And that's always been the wrong way to be, because in my culture, it's like have a plan, then go do that plan, execute that plan.
Same. I'm from the South.
Right. You know? And I just made this discovery, I think this week actually. I realized I'm always thinking, oh, that person's grounded because they have this, they have this, they have this. And then I realized, huge revelation. I'm like, I am grounded. But what grounds me is different than what grounds others. What grounds me is different than what grounds you.
Right.
I'm grounded at the beginning of my 20s. At 20, I lived in Germany, China, Hong Kong, right? So the foundation of how I see the world is a little bit different than most of my friends. right? That's a part of my root.
Yeah.
That's my foundation. I'm an artist. That's a part of my foundation. And so I start to think, I'm like, why am I saying that I'm not grounded because I'm not like the way that everyone else is grounded differently.
Right. I remember one of my old professors was talking about where's home, and one of my cohorts said, home for me is on a plane.
Right.
Home for me is on my way somewhere.
Right.
Home for me is becoming, and constantly becoming.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. That at the time, I guess I hadn't really, I wasn't okay with the idea of not being grounded somewhere. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was all over the place. Because I also lived in 3-4 places last year alone. In 1 year. So I was just like, I'm all over the place. I'm losing my mind. I'm moving from Europe back to the States. When I'm in the States, I'm in Boston, New York, Virginia. I don't have a sense of home. And I guess it's just like accepting that home, or the way that I was raised to see home or to understand home and the function of home doesn't necessarily exist in the same way for me. It's like I just have to be okay with getting on this plane and taking this bus ride and taking this ferry.
What if you're okay with that though? It's like, it's not, I think it's all about how you really feel.
Yeah.
It's like what feels right to you.
Right. So I had to move back to Boston. I was like, I need some normal in my life. I need some normal. So I moved back to Boston, and I really miss being on the plane. I really miss being on tour. I really miss traveling. I really miss being tired, and having to get on a flight and then getting somewhere and going straight to the theater to perform. I really miss that. And it's like, wow, that is everything to me.
Sometimes it takes getting away from your routine to realize whether you needed it or not.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the yogis during a practice said, sometimes we have to lose in control in order to recenter. Right? Like, how do you know where you're at if you don't step out of it sometimes? And that's that concept is impactful and is really part of mind art, because when you're seeing all these roads and these lines and these journeys, and they represent all of our paths. I remember when I was in the deepest, darkest points of my depression and my anxiety, I remember God said, you're seated in heavenly places. And for some reason I was like, oh, let me step out real quick. And, taking in meditative practices and being able to step out and being able to watch myself. That was so impactful. And so you see all of these lines and you don't know where they're going, but as you step out, you see the bigger picture. Yeah. Right? And there's these puzzle pieces, and life is a puzzle piece. And so it takes stepping out for me to see, oh, where's Wendy at? Oh, that's okay. Okay, that's where she's at. Oh, there's light. There's light like 50 miles away. Keep going, girl. Yeah. Keep going. You're just in a clogged part of the pipe right now. Right. Not the whole pipe is clogged. Right. Light is 50 miles away. All right, we go, G. Yeah. Let's get it back 50 miles away. 50 miles away.
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm going to be moving soon from Boston, and just looking at...
Where are you going? Back to New York?
I'm not going to decide yet.
Cool.
I want to go back to New York, but if it's Berlin, if it's Africa, if it's wherever, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But just thinking about where I've come from and who I am right now and who I'm becoming, I'm just like, I got this. It's okay. It's okay. I got this. I'm gonna be okay.
Because only you truly know you.
Right. Right. And I'm also still learning myself, which has been a really, really great process, getting to know Key.
What have you learned so far?
That I was afraid to push up against tradition, even habits, food habits, workout habits, or no workout habits. Reading books, like things that I just never thought that I could do because I just never saw people around me doing them. Like growing up, I was just always afraid to do those things. And then there would always be comments in the South of like, no, that's what white people do. So there was like all of these boundaries.
Shit, I can really relate to that.
You know, that I had programmed.
Yeah.
And I had believed for so long. I'm in this space right now where I can really provide for myself. So I'm making more choices for myself. And I don't know if it, I think it also has to do with me accepting my long distance relationships with my family. That maybe this long distance is set up so that I can really unlearn and rebuild.
At what point do you decide what it is to unlearn or what it is a part of your belief when it comes to the traditions? Like,
right. I think that when you start to do more research, when you taste that thing that you had never tasted before, or when you go to that class that you had never thought about going to, or you never imagined being in conversations talking about certain subjects with groups of people that you never even imagine yourself, you know, being a part of. It's like whenever you go that extra mile to just kind of learn something new, I think that's when you realize that everything that you know is really just like everything that you actually just think you know. You know, it's like everything that I know is not so set in stone.
right.
Like, and these binaries, I get to dismantle so many binaries. It's not either or. It's like they actually go hand in hand. For every good, there's bad. For every wrong, there's some right in there. You know, and it's like once you learn to accept that, and like you get to see the more colors, and you get to see more colors in life. I feel like it's like I don't have to just eat that. I don't have to just wear that. You know, I can try that, you know, grapefruit, or I can try that fennel. You know, I'm just really talking about food here, and it's a metaphor, but
Yeah. You hungry?
yeah, but I am hungry right now in my life. Period. You know,
You're thirsty.
I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty. You know, I want something to drink.
Now that was super impactful.
Because it's really, I'm at the point right now where I'm just like, I really don't want to have too many preferences in life.
So you're really you explore. It's through your exploration.
It's through my exploration that I'm like, dang girl, I didn't know you was gonna like that.
Right.
Wow, that's for you.
I think it's really cool that you get to this place where you're like, this, like for me, I'll say this is for me, and immediately another voice starts challenging it. Like, no, it's not.
Right.
This is wrong.
Right. And then I have to unpack that voice.
And figure out where the root is from.
Where the root is from. And I'm like, whose voice is this? You know? I'm just like, not my voice.
Yeah.
Because in like being present right now, here, right now, my voice is saying that this is for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That voice is just I don't know where it's coming from. But if I unpack it, sometimes I'm able to pinpoint it.
Right. I actually think, well, I know being fearless is completely understanding that that voice is never going to go away. It's always going to show up. It's always going to show up.
Right.
It's just always going to show up. The fear never leaves us.
Right.
I remember my friend who impacted my life. I pulled up on at this show in Brooklyn, and he was there. Simba Lives Long. He's an amazing artist. Made this speech, and he was like, "The fear doesn't go away."
Yeah.
This whole time, I'm like being feared, and I'm like, "Why do I still feel scared?" And it's like it's never going to go away. It's here just like good is here. It's here just like bad is here. It's here just like joy is here. It's here just like happy is here.
Yeah.
It's here just like sad is here. How do we progress knowing what is what is? Which way and which part? Like if I know that good and bad is always here, then what do I want my foundation to be in? Do I want it to be in sadness? Because damn, when the bad comes, I'm just going to be really bad.
Yeah.
Or do I want it to be in joy so that when the bad comes, it's like, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's like, I used to like really, I'm so scared, so I'm not going to do it. And then I realized that's actually what stops you, because the fear never leaves. Yeah. The fear never leaves.
Yeah.
Like, and so that it's lit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, then I'm just going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
That voice is always going to come up. And it's like, how do we unpack it? Where is the root of it? And then how do I move on from it?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Thank you for teaching me what I needed to learn. On to the next.
Yeah.
Are you here again? Thank you for teaching me what I need to learn. And I just keep realizing my fears are just everything that I want to do.
Yeah.
Everything that I love.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
And so if I really hug them, talk to them, explore them, go through with them, and they're probably going to lead me to where I really want to be.
Yeah.
I'm only scared of what I can't be, quote unquote. I'm only scared of what I can be. So it's kind of like, I know that fearless is where I'm at now. I am Wendy Michelle Dupu. I am Wendy Darling. I am fearless at the moment, but I'm also Dune. And Dune is my childhood nickname. That's my family nickname. Everyone, my aunts, at one point my aunts were like, "Who's Wendy?" Like, everyone knows me as Dune. I'm all of them.
Yeah.
But fearless, this time being fearless has taught me, like, oh my gosh, it's just falling in love with every part of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just no longer afraid of saying hi to my fears.
Yeah.
They're right here with me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What's next?
What is next? Well, I'm glad you asked. So I came back from Hispaniola, Quisqueya, also known as the island that houses both Haiti and Dominican Republic. I used to always just Haiti, Dominican Republic and keep it separate, but my trip radically shifted my whole life.
Yeah.
It was my first time being back on the island. I was born in Haiti. We went to Dominican Republic. Didn't want to go because of this anger and pure dislike that I had for Dominican Republic and Dominicans. There's been a huge kind of like race war happening on the island for years, since like the 1936 massacre, the most recent one. And so I didn't realize how ignorant I was to the history and what was really going on until I went on the land, and my spirit felt so at home just being on the island, right, and with my people. And I'm in Dominican Republic, and I'm like, wait, you look like me. And the Spanish, if they saw that I didn't speak Spanish, they switched and started speaking Creole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did they do that at? And so I start, of course, understanding our history more from my readings in the past, and everything just clicked. And I came back and I'm like, wait, I just got comfortable with like being in Boston, being with my mom, having this job. Like, let me just do this thing, do my art low key. Maybe I need restoration. I need stability a little bit. This shit fucked me up. I come back and I'm like, oh shit! I've been making the best art I've ever made in my life. I'm so inspired. And so I'm moving to Haiti in January, February. I want to be there for 3 months. I'll be in Dominican Republic for 3 months. I'll be in Cape Verde with Star. And I just gotta give a shout out to my sister Star. She's just impacted my life so much. She lives her life. We are always, our journeys are always in sync.
Yeah.
And I remember I got to this place where I realized, like, yo, how did I become this? I'm like, well, you're not stable and you have to do this and you have to do that. And then it hit me. I realized, I was like, I'm not being myself right now.
Yeah.
I'm not being myself. And
Right.
I'm only getting older, right?
Right.
And I'm at this place where I have to really be comfortable with what makes me happy and how I would like to live my life. And I'm a traveler.
Yeah.
And I want to impact by connecting with people and sharing their stories through all of the gifts that I've been given. I want to speak with them. I want to hold them. I want to understand their culture and their stories and their trauma. I want to be able to share it with the rest of the world, and I want to be able to. I think that's where my identity lies, is home.
Yeah.
And so, I hope that living there and that experience can. I hope I come back and you don't even know who I am, because I'm like, girl, this is really me.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, what's next is home. And who knows where else? I'm pretty sure it'll skyrocket after that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be launching, Crown is getting pretty crazy. More art.
We want it.
Thank you, Key.
Thank you so much.
I love you both.
Love you too. Well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you have your forks and knives ready for next week, because we have some more food coming your way.
And the food is bomb. I just got my grills on. I can't chew, but I'm about to fuck it up.